It's scuffed, a little worn. The elastic's been replaced more than once, and I've polished it more than a dozen times. But I still reach for this notebook because it's the one that held me together when I was falling apart. So this is a B6 Slim. It was a sample leather that I had originally gotten, and it later became known as Cody when I decided to offer it as a product. As you can see, it's quite shiny, and that is from layers and layers of polishing. It has a brand here, which I love. In school, my friends would call me JC, and it kind of has a J and a C here. That works for me. I made this back in 2017, and this is when the folios were folded over on the edge here, but we don't do it that way anymore. But I still have this, and many of you do still have one of these. It is a B6 Slim. It holds the Nanami Cafe Note, and that notebook was a lifesaver for me in 2020, and that is what is still in here. We all know that 2020 was a dumpster fire. I think the whole world started breathing again when 2021 hit, but for me, this was, this was what got me through that year, really. I'm trying to find a couple pages to show you. The journal itself, I used it for many different things. I used it for sketching, drawing, journaling, bullet journaling even, just whatever to get my thoughts out. Here's an entry from March 22nd, 2020. And it says that we closed shop to self-quarantine in hopes that we could slow down the outbreak. And then I kind of talk about what it feels like, knowing that that's what we've done. And I did a lot of reading during quarantine, a lot of reading. I think I read like 18 or 19 books during quarantine. And I rated them, like how I liked them and stuff, and just, it's not pretty, but it got me through so many things. And yeah, nothing about this notebook is pretty. There's a couple of elements that are nice, but that's that's it. Some days, some pages are blank, and that's okay. Here we are in June, and everybody's back to work, and I'm just scribbling and taking notes on things. This is just my notebook, how it happened. So what I learned about keeping a notebook during a worldwide crisis was it kind of preserved some of the history, and it preserved how I felt about that history, because I look back on that time, and I have a tendency to not remember everything that happened. Even just in my normal everyday life, I have a tendency not to remember certain events. And this, because I wrote them down, this remembers them. And it's kind of cool to look back on it and be like, oh yeah, I remember that. And I remember feeling like back here, let me see if I can find it again. Like right here is, I'm praying for this to be over soon, and hopefully we can all return to our lives. I don't know how we are going to afford to pay our employees while we are in this adventure, but I trust in God for our care, and I don't fear what might come. All is according to His plan and His will. I worry my faith isn't enough. Peter was with Him and saw all the miracles and heard His words. He slept near Him and knew firsthand that He was the Son of God. And yet Peter denied knowing Him 3 times. Will I do better? Peter walked on water. What have I done? So that's a reflection that I don't often have, and I'm glad that I wrote it down because I can look back on it and I can be like, yes, I'm no better than Peter, and Peter had it way better than I did in that he got to literally walk with Jesus. So yeah, just that's a reflection. Then there's lots of others. So it's just a bunch of scribbling and jotting things down, and watercoloring, painting, all this kind of stuff. And there's just so much going on here that I'm so grateful that I have this. And I loved the cafe notes so much. I was so excited in 2021 to start the new one, and I ended up hating it. So I didn't continue with the cafe notes. But yeah, there's 2020 dumpster fire. But yeah, it was exciting. And there's a few blank pages here, and that's okay. It's okay to have blank pages. But yeah, even a recipe here. Beef and potato casserole. That sounds delicious. But yeah. So that was it. This is the one I reached for. I love this cover so much. Inside the book, I wasn't trying to be profound in any way. It was just my way of surviving what was happening. This little book stayed with me through it all. Not every book is meant to be finished. Some are meant to be kept. And because what they hold isn't just words, it's who we were when we needed that page. And, as bad as 2020 was, and it was bad, I feel like for me, it was a bit of a turning point, because while the world was literally on fire, it really helps deepen my faith and keep me focused on what truly matters to me. And that is, keeping my eyes on the Lord and keeping my faith in Him. And I feel like this was a really big turning point for me. In cognitive behavioral therapy, journaling is often called a mirror of the inner world. But I think sometimes it's also a shelter, a soft place to be with your thoughts without pressure to change them. So today's scripture is Psalms 56:8. You keep track of my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle, and you have recorded each one in your book. So I believe God sees even the tears we write down, even the scribbles, even the blank pages. Do you have a notebook that you just can't let go of? One that reminds you of who you were or who you were becoming? I'd love to hear about it. Or just type the name you gave it or the season it holds. In my next video, I'm talking about what I do before bed, so make sure you're subscribed if you would like to reflect together.
We walk through fire in 2020, hearts heavy, hope feeling thin. The world paused, breath held in silence, as fear and loss crept in. Empty streets, full minds, hands washed but souls unclean. We craved a light, a steady hand, a way to wash us clean. But in the stillness of our sorrow, when every crutch fell away, we found a whisper in the chaos. God never walked away. Not in the masks or the mourning, not in the waiting seeds of faith that start to grow. When churches locked their open doors, we became the sacred space. When we were stripped of all we knew, we met amazing grace. We learned that faith is not a feeling, not just hymns or Sunday best. It's Christ